How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Grand Archive video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, I am joined again, well, I guess it's been a little while since Dan's been here on the channel, but I'm joined again by none other than Dan from Main Deck. We're going to talk a lot about Grand Archive today. Dan, how are you doing?
I am doing great, Kel. It's great to be back once again. Yeah, it has been quite a while. I think our last collab might have been like altered box opening or something a while back.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Boy, there's a lot that happened to that game this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're not talking about altered. We're not talking about altered today.
No.
We're talking about Grand Archive, and we're talking actually about the year that we just experienced in Grand Archive 2025. What was good about Grand Archive in the year? And by that I mean we're going to talk about everything, not just what was good, but you know, all of the aspects. We're going to go over all the sets. We're going to go over all of the other product releases, so like the Reco decks and that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about supporter packs and then events as well. I went to several Grand Archive events, and Dan went to a lot more than that. So I think Dan will have a lot to say about events, especially since he is the, what would you call your title? Coach of Main Deck? Leader?
That's right.
Like, okay, yeah.
They like to call me Main Deck Dad.
Main Deck Dad, yeah.
that works too.
It's pretty close to your name. It's one letter off.
Yep.
And if folks don't know that, you know, Main Deck is one of the premier teams for Grand Archive now, with Taylor taking Worlds this year. But that's not it. We'll have Dan talk more about that when the time comes. But not just Taylor winning Worlds. There's more to it. So yeah, let's if you're ready, Dan, we can just kind of get into it.
Yeah, dive in. Where do we start? We got products, we got events.
Yes.
Like, where do we begin?
Yeah, let's start with the sets, because I think that's kind of what most people have the most familiarity with. Even if you weren't able to go to events, you probably have some familiarity with all of the sets. And by all of the sets, a pretty reasonable number of sets compared to a lot of other trading card games on the market. We only had 3 sets this year, and I say only. We had 3 sets this year, which is great. Gives you a lot of time to actually, you know, take in the set and experience it. And you can see metas shift, like, you know, month to month when a new set drops, which is super cool. Though the first set is kind of an interesting one. It's what we would consider like a smaller set. I don't know if there's an official term for it, supplementary set or something like that. But Abyssal Heaven was the first set that came out in 2025. And personally speaking, I'm gonna start this by saying I'm not gonna be super positive with everything. I liked Abyssal Heaven, but I felt it was kind of one of the weaker sets, just in general, not just this year, but kind of just in general for Grand Archive. What do you think about Abyssal Heaven, Dan?
Yeah, Abyssal Heaven is, I mean, I think it's pretty well known at this point that the Mortal Ambition to Abyssal Heaven cycle was like, I think what we understand, the devs like to design in sort of power level waves.
Yeah.
And this was on the sort of the low point of the wave. I think from an intentional standpoint, because you as a designer, you kind of have to do something to not just power creep your game into oblivion. So I think they like to like move it up and down a little bit. And yeah, like Abyssal Heaven was on the lower end of power for sure. Yeah. It did, from my perspective, give us one of my favorite champion designs in the game, in Guoja.
Okay.
But there's a number of cards that, you know, just maybe aren't like the most competitive. There's a number of crazy cards too, but like, I think overall, it was a less impactful set, certainly, than it appears that the follow-up set was. We'll talk about in a second.
Yes, I want to mention a couple other parts about it. Not just power level, but just like general impact, and by that I mean like impact. I don't want to say culturally, but like the influence that Grand Archive has had on the market. And what I mean is that I think both Mortal Ambition and Abyssal Heaven were really big jumping off points for certain areas of the world for Grand Archive, right? We know it's very popular in like Southeast Asia, for example. And I think it was, you know, one of the sets that kind of like opened the door for that region. And it's a region that has become a very big part of Grand Archive now, right? It's not just a US game or like tiny little pockets. I think Southeast Asia and even like more so later in the year, Japan has really adopted Grand Archive. And I think Abyssal Heaven and Mortal Ambition were kind of like the seeds for that.
Right. The world of Songwo that is used in AMB and HVN is based on traditional like Romance of the Three
Yeah.
Kingdoms like style storyline. I mean, directly using those interpretations of those
Yes,
characters.
you
I
have
should
versions
say.
of the characters. They're not always the same. Like Lubu is not what you might expect. Well, maybe it depends on if you've seen some anime or something. But um, definitely their own take on that.
Yeah, but that I mean, what that did was over the past year, year and a half, that region has grown to the point where it is actually, I believe, a bigger player base total than the United States if you compare Southeast Asian region to the U.S. And this is an English first U.S. made game, which is like
Yeah.
saying I think a lot for some of the decision making to go to that region to do Abyss 11. Like characters like Woja are hugely popular
Oh yeah.
in the Southeast Asian region as well. She is one of the most popular just character designs.
Yeah. So Abyssal Heaven, while Dan and I agree that it is kind of a weak power level set, I think it's had a pretty big impact on Grand Archive as a whole, right?
Yeah.
The next two sets, and it's kind of funny because it feels like it actually just came out. I don't know about you, but it feels like Distorted Reflections just came out to me. I don't know, even though it's been out for quite a while now.
It still feels like fairly fresh, I think, because
Yeah.
we're still, well, I mean, especially with the way PTM has pushed the designs from DTR, it still kind of feels like we're just learning the power level of some of the cards in the set as well.
And like some of the champions released or that got their debut in Distorted Reflections kind of got fully fleshed out in Phantom Monarchs, like Alice, for example, right? We only got half of Alice in DTR. Now we got all of Alice if you want to go all the way up to level 2 and do the whole chessman thing. I personally really, really like Distorted Reflections. I don't think it's my favorite Grand Archive set of all time. If you had to ask me now, it's probably MRC. But
I knew it.
Mercurial Heart, I really love that set. Even though it's another like a little expansion set or whatever, I really like MRC. Not just for Tristan, there are other reasons too, but Tristan's a big one. But yeah, what do you think about Distorted Reflections, Dan?
Distorted Reflections is definitely one of, or possibly the strongest set that has been released in the game.
It's very
I think.
good. Yeah.
It features some extremely powerful cards especially at the ultra rarity. I think it also, aside from being one of the strongest sets and a theme that is extremely popular, I know, like, for example, Japan is a huge fan, just culturally, of the Alice in Wonderland theme. It's something that I've heard at least as well. But it also introduced the start of some potential issues that players are starting to bring up with the game when it comes to things like pricing of cards in the secondary market.
Sure.
Due to rarity, due to scarcity.
Yes.
DTR is a set that, like MRC, just to bring that reference back, sold out not too long after launch. It didn't take very long. There's a period, and I was actually just like looking at the TCG player chart for this the other day because I was curious. There's a period of a few weeks where you could get boxes at that 60 to 70 range, like pretty close to cost, and then they're gone. And now it's already back up where it's at MSRP or above to be able to pick boxes up, which for any card game, if you pay attention to the market at all, any card game with product sitting still at MSRP is doing crazy well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Distorted Reflections, you touch on a couple things that I think are kind of interesting. So you mentioned like the price thing. I feel that there are some aspects of that are directly because of Distorted Reflections, and we know that they were kind of like maybe a little short printed, or maybe a lot of short printed. But I also think Distorted Reflections grew Grand Archive in a way that it hasn't seen so far, and because of that, I think just a lot more people are becoming aware of problems that have existed in the game for a while. Like Grand Archive has never been like a cheap game. Like it's never been a TCG where you can make a deck for like $50 or whatever, right? It's not like a Pokemon kind of deal. It's always been on the medium. I'd classify it like as a medium to high-ish price if you're looking at the spectrum of all the games on the market, right? It's not the most expensive, but it's also not the cheapest. It's maybe on the little bit of a higher end. And it's been like that for basically since since the game has been out. But I think it's been highlighted with the Distorted Reflections because of the short printed stuff, which kind of exacerbated the problem, but also just because the set grew the player base, and there's more people coming in, and there's more people trying the game, and they're like, what the heck? I need these cards that are really, really expensive. And then they run into the problem where like, okay, you need the Looking Glass if you want to play that deck. It's like non-negotiable. You have to have it. It's not like a flex card where you can swap with something else. It's a unique effect. And it makes that just kind of like I said, it just makes it more obvious to everyone basically. So
I think one of the main issues with everyone, if you ask about DTR, is going to point at two cards, Looking Glass and Cheshire Cat. Those are the two kind of like problem children of
play them in the
set.
same deck too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think one of the core issues that DTR highlighted from a perspective of like how we design ultra rares and the ultra rare slot and what it does, what it's for and what it maybe shouldn't be for, is that when you're playing a deck that plays Looking Glass, you get Looking Glass out at the start of the game that allows you to then play your distortion cards from turn 1.
Yep.
And Cheshire Cat is a card that you can pretty easily just slam down on turn 1. She's really hard to deal with. Your next turn just involves putting out a sword to power her up. And when in the past, when we've had main deck ultra rares, by and large, they have been like things like advanced element cards, which technically Cheshire Cat is. But the problem is that exalted advanced element, you cheat because of the Looking Glass. But the thing is, when your deck has ultra rares that are advanced element, you don't always need 4 of them. Like decks rarely run 4 Carter, even though we have a new champion in CL who plays Carter super well. And it's this combination of, like you said, Kel, an affected Looking Glass that is just like irreplaceable. There's no like backup Looking Glass that's like, but you just have to use a materialized phase on it and you get it. It's just you either have it or you don't.
So like, it's not like some of the other ones that were more ubiquitous. It's not like a GCR, right? Where people would be like, you can run the GCR. It might be the best pick in this a particular deck, or you could run like a Quicksilver Grail or something else to replace it.
Which is expensive now too.
Yes,
But,
these are getting reprints. We'll talk about that maybe in another video. But yeah, I agree. It's the short print didn't help. The short print didn't help at all. I personally don't own a copy of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't. Oh
yeah. I mean, cats though. I have 4 Cheshire Cats. I have no Looking Glass.
And that's the problem.
I'm using a proxy from Lucky Yuki. So
sure.
Yeah.
You need 4 copies of Cheshire Cat a lot of the time in that deck because it's a card you're happy to see early on and happy to play it. And then you also need to have the Looking Glass. So it's like there's no point where you can like flex the package and go, I think I'll just get away with, like, I guess you could get away with 2 cats if you have a Looking Glass or something, but your deck's so much better when it's a core part of your deck.
You're just playing if you don't have the Looking Glass, you're just playing another deck. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. And so I mean, I think that really added up to be I think it showed a way that a lot of players would prefer that ultra rares are not done, in general. It's just it's made it so that building any decks that if it's a competitively viable deck that runs Cheshire Cat, it's just like you said, Kel, it's never been cheap to build the most competitive decks. But I think back to when Erupting Rhapsody was still legal. You actually could build a $50 to $75 deck that was competitive in Rhapsody, but the next best one was like $250 to $300. That was kind of getting to high end. Our high end is higher now, and that's kind of the main problem. Yeah,
it's always been the kind of game where you have a couple quite expensive cards and then everything else is fairly cheap. Like even back then with the first couple sets, it was like GCR was like $80 to $100 or however much it was. I do remember back when Quicksilver Girl was like $15. I was talking to some folks recently, reminiscing about FTC, talking about how like I was picking up Blanches for like $1 on TCG Player because no one thought she was good, and I literally bought like 20 of them because I'm like, this card's cute and I think she's good. Anyway, but it's a game where you have a couple cards that are really expensive, and you have like your Ghost of Pendragon, your Dungeon Guides, and then you have your GCR, and that's like 80% of the cost of your deck, and then everything else is like pennies, dollars, whatever. Now it's that, but also more. It's like that, and then like more. And it's not just. I do want to say, there's a little bit of a tangent from DTR, but it's not just like the Looking Glass. I mean, there are other things that make it quite expensive. Like Sadie is another one. If you want to play Assassin, Sadie's quite spendy, and you're gonna want 4 of them. I mean, I guess you can get away with running less, but
you want 4.
You probably you want 4 of them. So I don't know. It is something that they are addressing, like Weebs is addressing, which is pretty cool. And the fact that they're addressing it as soon as the next set is exceptionally cool. Personally, I need both of the relics from DTR and Phantom Monarchs. I didn't get either of them. So like the last time I pulled a relic was Abyssal Heaven, like Art of War. Yeah, I think that's the last one I got. So it's been a little while since I personally got one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the reprints. Yeah, so I think Disorder Reflections as a set, I think it's a really good set. I think it's a fun set. I think the setting is really cool. You mentioned it's just a setting that resonates with a lot of people. But it also is a set that kind of highlighted a lot of stuff, perhaps because of, pull rate issues, but also because of things that have just been happening, that have been prevalent in the game and that are more obvious now that the game is growing even more.
I want to add that if for DTR, and this is I'm gonna stop being negative. I mean, like the pricing thing is a serious issue that players are very right to be concerned about. But hopefully, in the kind of partner video to this one, where we're looking at 2026, we can talk about some of the ways, some of our expectations based on our interactions with Weebs and announcements that they've made and everything that I think are a lot more positive on that front. But the designs for the champions in DTR, I said that Guoja was, I don't know if I said my favorite or one of my favorite champion designs, but I was shocked when they followed up Guoja with 2 more champion designs that I think are just like knocked straight out of the park. Like the coolest. Yeah. I think the designs for CL and Diana are 2 of the coolest designs. CL from a very like gameplay standpoint, like just how fun and toolboxy and powerful and inevitable he can be. And then Diana especially from like a flavor standpoint of this like magical archer who then gets mystical into like foreseeing the future and like manipulating time and stuff. Like I think those 2 designs are just some of my favorites that I've seen. And I wish Diana CSRs weren't as expensive as they are. Cause I want them.
Right. Yeah. I really like Diana. It's one of the 4, I have like 4 fully built, so it's like semi-competitive Grand Archive decks now, and Diana's one of them. Mm-hmm. It's I really like it a lot. It's really fun, and it's the version that I have is the take of the list that you gave me. I've kind of swapped it up a little bit since then, but it's a very combat weapon focus, right? I think I only run 2 allies at all. I think it's just Paladin and the Taunt Frog, and everything else is just like blasting your opponent with magic, which is kind of cool.
I'll give you our new list after this. You got to see this. It's
okay. I put
she's way better now.
I put in some of the stuff from Phantom Monarchs. I did put in the 0 cost one that goes back on back under. Focus. Yeah, I put that in, and then I was playing around with the UR of and I pulled like 3 of them. I don't know if it's good or not though. I think it might be too cute. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I really like the champions. I'd like to play CL more. I haven't played him very much, and I think he seems really cool. So, yeah, and this is a good segue into Phantom Monarchs, which is the 3rd and final set of the year. And as we kind of mentioned before, it's a set that just kind of like felt like the completion to Distorted Reflection, right? Because we got like Heart of Alice in DTR, and now we got the second half of Alice, and also a new Alice in Phantom Monarchs, as well as a lot more support for, like we just mentioned, Diana, as well as CL. So Phantom Monarchs is a set that it's come out like not too long ago, and I haven't really super dug into it. In fact, I literally just placed an order on TCG Player like 2 days ago for some of the cards I was missing, because I want to build Dark Alice, and I'm finally building like a suited deck. I'm building Fire Dark Alice, by the way. I know I see a lot of people do water. I want to do fire. I want to play with the new Proxy's Vault card, and I just want to do fiery stuff. Because like if you do, I don't know. I think it can be a lot of fun. I don't know how good it's gonna be, but an aggro deck that has ways to get advantage in the late game seems cool. Because one of the big weaknesses of aggro is that you kind of gas out, and having your dudes come back seems pretty good. So,
and you get Bill and Bill rules.
Yeah, Chimbley Sweet Bill is sweet, and I'm playing Bandersnatch and I'm playing the Jabberwocky, so I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. I don't know if it's gonna be good, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Phantom Monarchs, so this came out just under a month ago now, and we're still, as we're recording this, the Ascent Manila is on the horizon here at the end of the week, so we're still kind of waiting to see like what kind of real impact it has. I mean, like we didn't really talk about the fact that DTR had a really oversized impact on the metagame immediately when it released because of Rile the Abyss, which then had to end up getting banned because it was just too lucrative to be playing Rile the Abyss decks for a little bit. The Siren's Call of drawing way too many cards that players couldn't resist.
Turns out when drawing cards is both like your play equity and also your resources, drawing makes it like a little bit good.
Seems good. Yeah, no, it was pretty crazy. Now PTM, we're gonna have to see like what the real impact is from it, in our early events, and this is maybe gonna look stupid in comparison because maybe Manila will have already happened when you're watching this or something. But we're seeing a lot of the decks that are performing at the top right now from recent online events and the store champs that are happening. We're seeing like things like Water Aethering Diana, but not the cool new stuff, just the one that would, top a few ascents in the last season, win regionals, the aggressive one that just shot you and put out Crystalline Archers and attacked. We're seeing stuff like that, just like decks that don't really gain a lot from PTM. Still doing well. Players are struggling to figure out how to get Alice to win games. She can live a really absurdly long amount of time. But how do you win is the question. And same thing with Merlin. Of course, this is an extremely exciting set because it added Assassin Merlin, and something Kel was 100% spot on about naming that she was happening. Absolutely called it. Totally deserve all the credit for that. And then she came out, and now everyone's like, "Well, I don't know if she's that good."
she's weird, right? Like she's like this weird, like tempo-y kind of thing. Like we have to build up all this counters over time. I think she's cool. I haven't gotten a chance to play her in like a constructed fashion. I had played with the Reco deck itself, but I haven't actually built her out. So I don't know. I hope that some people have kind of like cracked the list and they have some good builds, because I would like to give it a shot. We're seeing it's interesting.
There's like 3 resources you're juggling in Merlin, and it's like, what's the secret recipe that makes it all work? And I don't know. We'll see if people can figure out, but so far right now, it seems like PTM has some really, really strong cards, really good cards in it, but it's like all of the new kind of archetypes that come from PTM specifically are like, I don't know if these are landing. Whereas Diana and CL are both getting some like extremely good support, like that are making them extremely meta relevant. I think that's the one thing is CL with Foe Awakening now.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that one.
That's like
pretty good.
That's the obvious. That's like the Ryle in this set, except it's not as it doesn't create as big of a variety of decks. It just says, oh, everyone kind of wants to play CL now. So I mean, it's interesting to see where that's going to go. And like, maybe at some point we'll look back on PTM and have a better idea of what it did, but it definitely is exciting. I think that's the one thing that you mentioned, like Alice coming out, like lots of players love the design of Alice. Merlin, lots of players love the aesthetic and the design of Merlin. So it's a set that people are definitely into, just whether or not it ends up creating new archetypes or just kind of reinforcing old ones, we have yet to see.
Yeah, and I know a lot of folks, we didn't even mention like the regular Alice, but I know a lot of folks are trying to do Chessman stuff and trying to make Chessman work as well. I don't know, it could just be one of those things where maybe we don't have the full picture. Like maybe they're similar to like CL and Diana in that we don't have the full picture quite yet, and then maybe we'll get more support in a upcoming set. that will maybe fill out the things that we need.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's two sides to that. I think number one, the game is really hard, and it takes players like finding the right list and learning the exact weird sequencing things you need to do. Like there's Merlin, I've been experimenting a lot with it, and I had to learn some pretty weird plays. You're like, oh, okay, this is how I do like the extra 2 or 3 damage I need to actually win the game. And then RDO is our next set, our capstone set, and that's going to have support for everything. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that in the other video, but like certainly more chances to get support there.
I mean, yeah, to everyone who's watching this, to everyone's credit, if you play Grand Archive, I genuinely think Grand Archive is one of the most mechanically complex games out there right now. Not in an unfun way. I think it's fun. There are some games that are mechanically complex that are just not fun. I think Grand Archive is in a fun way. But it is, when I play it, like mentally taxing. It's not a game that you can just play and just be like, just slam some dudes down or whatever. I mean, you can, but you're more rewarded for interacting with all of the complexities of the game. It's just a different mental feeling when I play something like Gundam, which I feel Gundam has a very simple core rules. You can get a little bit complex in sequencing and minutia in it, but when I play Gundam and when I play Grand Archive, I feel like different neurons are firing off in my brain, if that makes sense.
It totally does to me. Your Gundam is my Star Wars Unlimited. There's a bunch of play. Like I'm not a good Star Wars Unlimited player, and when I get to cast or watch the high level play, I'm like, wow, these guys are really thinking differently than me. But it's like, I don't need to activate that to play that game. I can just play and still do okay. And like, oh, I messed up. Whoops. Like I realized a turn or two later. Grand Archive is a lot more thought intensive, but in a way that I adore. And we'll talk about it a little bit during the event section as well. I think in my experiences, casting versus playing at high levels, but like it's I mean, no one should feel bad if you're just getting into Grand Archive. You're like, man, I keep losing. Yeah. It's a really hard game.
It's hard, and if you're a regular trading card game player, if you've been playing TCGs for a long time, it does things that are subtly different than other games that some people think that Grand Archive is similar to, like Magic the Gathering, where it just doesn't work the same as Magic. Like aggro in GA is not aggro in Magic. You can't play like a 2/1 goblin and then attack, because your opponent can immediately just play something and then kill it, right? So you don't have like this agency of like your goblin guide's going to survive unless they block kind of deal, because it can just be attacked back immediately. Everything has haste. The fact that everything has haste just changes dynamics, and yeah, it's an interesting thing. And learning all of that kind of stuff is steps. I even had some content creator friends, not to like name drop or anything, but my friend Different Fight, who's known for Vanguard. He was like even posted publicly, tweeted about it. He's getting into Grand Archive, and he's like, man, this game's hard. And I was like, yep, it is. Not saying that Vanguard isn't hard. I think Vanguard is, there's some intricacies with Vanguard that I think makes it fun, but it's different. It's very different.
It's a different fight.
Is exactly. Exactly.
I'm sorry about that.
Vanguard's a lot about minimizing randomness and risk and all that kind of stuff, and that might be that a little bit in Grand Archive, but Grand Archive is a lot about like sequencing, resource management, hand management. It can get tricky, but it's a fun game, and that's why Dan and I play it, and why I assume everyone else watching this plays it. So yeah, Phantom Monarchs, to circle back, I like the set. Even if it doesn't have a big impact now, and even if it doesn't have a big impact, in the immediate future, I feel like it might be a set similar, not to this degree, but similar to Fractured Crown. As like when Fractured Crown first came out, it was a little bit not as hype, but now people are coming back to it and finding cards that are very good, that are subsequently becoming quite expensive. Like over the last year, Blanche, I mentioned Blanche earlier, but she shot up from like a $2 card to like I don't know how much she is now, 20 plus. Fracture Eyes was a card in FTC, which is also like a $20 rare. So it's like, this Phantom Monarchs could be a set where people look back on, in 6 months and be like, yo, these cards are cracked, kind of thing. So
There are some crazy rares in this set that I expect to see a lot of play. Yes.
yeah. And so those are the sets. I think having just a general question for you, Dan. So we have three sets. How do you feel about the release cadence of Grand Archive set wise? We'll talk about the Reco decks next, because the Reco decks are really important actually. But yeah, 3 sets. How do you feel? More or less? Like,
no, I never want it to change. Keep it exactly here is how I feel about this. As someone who's involved in competitive play, it's like tough to call myself a competitive player now because I just don't have a lot of opportunities to actually play in a sense. But who is involved with our team and testing and trying to extract the best results possible out of some of the best players in the game. I feel like it's at a very, very good cadence where we have usually a couple of majors every set to get to. I feel like if it were, and this is actually, though now that I think about this, might be a different way than a lot of people think about set release cadences and stuff, like what you're actually like worried about. But for me, it's like you have one ascent where it's a Wild West. You should have every set, you should have at least one ascent where it's a Wild West and you don't know what's going to happen. And then you should have at least one more ascent that you can ideally get to where it's more of a known metagame and you can approach it from there and try and crack the code, so to speak, in order to perform well. And like when you look at a game from a competitive perspective, there's positives and negatives to both of those kinds. So I wouldn't like it if the release cadence was faster, because I feel like we would never have time to really get to a more known metagame to then be able to like crack and solve. And I wouldn't like it as much if it were slower, because obviously you want it to shake up a little more often.
yeah.
And I feel like for a lot of these seasons, I can go, okay, yeah, like this is the ascent. We're going to try and blow it up with some new thing. And this is the one we're going to try to just figure out how to take down whatever's winning. And that feels just right to me.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think a lot of people would share a similar sentiment. Maybe not said exactly the same, but maybe in a different flavor. I think a lot of people think about it in terms of like product fatigue or like wallet fatigue.
Right. That's the normal way.
Yeah, but also I think part of it goes along with just being able to fully experience the set. And now you said it from like a competitive player and tournament, I don't want to say grinder, but someone who goes to a lot of ascents, that kind of standpoint. But from like a person who maybe can only engage in one ascent or a couple a year, you still have time to kind of like have this set breathe a little bit, and you can kind of pick and choose what ascent you go to and not have to immediately update your deck over and over and over again as they come out like every 2 months or whatever. You have 3 a year, so it's every 4 months, so you just have that time to let the set breathe, and it also gives people time to engage with it in a more I don't want to say healthy way, but maybe.
No, I mean, healthy, I think is a good term, because there are games out there that are releasing things so frequently that players feel the need to have to buy so much stuff in order to keep up. And then alongside that, in order to get actual play, they have to like go supplement on the digital game that's offered for that game or whatever. It's like, they're asking you to do so much that I think it creates a very unhealthy relationship from like a psychological standpoint with that product line. Where, yeah, I mean, I definitely do appreciate that. And if people are not in the weird position I am, where you get to travel as much as I do, just being able to go, okay, like if I can just take a couple days off every 4 months, I can get to an ascent. I can experience that. And I think it also ties in really well with the Omnidex system, where players are, we have player rewards every season. One of the coolest things about the game. And typically, if you want to rank to get those, you do kind of need to travel to like one ascent, but it's really just one that you need to in order to kind of get to your platinum rank or whatever, to be able to max out everything but the top 100 reward, which you have to just be good at the game to get, apparently. Which is great, by the way. That's good. That's really fun. But yeah, like it's a good incentive, and it always lasts as long as the season does. So it's nice to have that period of time go, okay, like, cool, I'm targeting LA. That's the one I'm going to go to. And then you make it there.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people in the Rogues Gallery community Discord are treated as well. Everyone's just like, okay, I can make it to this, event, or I really want to make it to this one. Yeah, I don't know. I agree, and I think most people would would have similar sentiments. Um, let's also talk about the Reco decks, because I think the Reco decks are also really important, because not only are they like, pre-constructed products, but they add a lot of new cards to Grand Archive. There are, as of now, they usually release with sets. We'll have to see if that keeps the same cadence moving forward. I imagine it will, but I can see a situation where maybe they don't. Maybe they, stagger the releases a little bit. But I think the Reco decks are super important because they're like 99%, maybe 90% new cards. I think the only reprints we've had, and most of them are just like Idle Thoughts, maybe.
Idle Thoughts, Gentle Respite now.
Yeah. And we'll have more in the future that we'll talk about in the next video. But so our first two Reco decks, we've already mentioned a little bit. So there's Guoja and Dao-Chan. And what makes these in particular very interesting is that these two, and this is true for all of them so far as well, but these two introduced like two new champions. And in this case, like two very like brand new champions. They're not returning champions like we had for the other ones, like Tristan, Sylvie, and Merlin. These are brand new champions. With brand new mechanics. And I think these Reco decks are pretty interesting in a couple different ways. This is, once again, just to prove that I'm not personally going to glaze everything. I have mixed feelings about some of these Reco decks. Like, I don't think they're particularly strong, like out of the box, but I do think they're fun. Like, so my take before I ask Dan's, there's Guoja and Dao-Chan. I think Guoja is, out of the two, the easier one to play. It is more of a like dudes focused deck. You like play dudes and you turn them sideways, and it's really easy for a new player to get into. There's a little bit of trickiness with the flipping and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's a little bit more approachable. Dao-Chan is not. Dao-Chan is a little bit more complicated. She plays as like this kind of like controlling burn-ish deck. But and she's kind of gotten this reputation from that deck of being like one of the worst recollection decks. I see this a lot in my community. Everyone thinks she's the least powerful of all the Reco decks. And I don't disagree with that. But what I like about it is, and I think a lot of people don't see this, or maybe they don't just agree with this, but I feel that Dao-Chan, the Reco deck, gives you a good place to upgrade into an actual good deck, especially when it was released, because it was like half of a Water Fractals deck, right? You just take out all the Terra stuff, like yeet the Terra stuff. You don't need that, but you do have like a big chunk of a Water Fractals deck, which at the time was one of, if not the best deck in the entire game. And I liked that about the deck, right? It gave you like a good starting point, like a 50-50, like not a 50-50, like a 50% of a way to like, going into that. So that's my kind of take on it. I feel like I agree that the Dao-Chan deck is a little bit less powerful right out of the box. If you're doing like a Reco deck battle box, and you pick Dao-Chan, you're brave. You're the brave one.
One word for it.
Yeah, but I did like how at least it was a relevant archetype, right? It wasn't just all bad, is what I'm trying to get at. So
right.
Yeah.
Guoja is a very underrated recollection deck, I think. Actually,
I think it's cool. I think it's fun, cool.
No, I think it's very close to it was very close to a meta relevant deck. It's just the wind version was better. In the metagame. And actually that's because the fire version should not be Seiryu, it should be Suzaku.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean the aggro Suzaku. I mean the Fate Stone version of Guoja is actually really good. That deck is very strong, but number one, few people actually played it and learned the lines and figured it out. And number two, the lines were kind of hard, really hard, actually. Again, it's just like referencing the fact that GA is such a niche, small game in the grand scheme of things that there are decks out there that people just aren't committing the time to explore and learn and get good at, that if people did, then they would show up. And people would be like, whoa, wait, this deck's actually really good.
I think a part of that is because it released next to Dao-Chan, where it was like Water Fractals, and that deck, I don't want to put like people down who play that deck, but it's I think it's a lot easier. Like you just play
So-
fractals, you burn. There's obviously a lot of complicated parts to it because Grand Archive is just a complicated game, but it felt to me like a much easier pick. If you like, I want to play one of these two meta decks. There's the really complicated one that no one's playing, or you can play the one that looks easier that's winning all the tournaments. Like, I could see why people chose Dao Chan.
Right, and I think like I posted a profile on the one that there's some members of the community who were exploring the Fire Fatestone Suzaku deck, and like when you realize that you have cards in this deck that are just fast speed, cannot be incapacitated, cannot have their damage prevented, deal 6 or 7 damage for 2. Like it's fireballs that are way better than fireball in this deck. And then you back that up with your champion being a 4/3 that can sometimes attack multiple times effectively, because the reason I love the design of Guoja is that your Auspicious Beast is your champion. It's like getting to pick. It's a cool tamer class fantasy to focus on that. But yeah, like I think that deck is extremely underrated and is way better than people give it credit for when they're analyzing the Rico decks. I think it is. I think it's up there, like under Slimes, but up there alongside Tristan with being like actually a really good meta deck, but complicated, and you do have to learn the lines and stuff. And I think Tristan has edge on it, obviously in power level, but it's not a huge one actually. So yeah, I mean, I think that's very true. And I think Dao Chan, I think you're spot on, Kel. That deck's like the Terra Dao Chan in standard is bad. It's currently it's never had the support that it needed.
It's so I want to say this. I actually really like what the deck does, and I like how the deck plays. I think it's really fun, but you just die before any of it matters. You're just dead.
Correct.
And in the next video, we keep alluding to another video. We're going to be doing another video where we talk about next year. But
yeah, I know.
I think Dao Chan could be super sick in multiplayer, man. I think Dao Chan could be rad as hell in Pantheon. So
I might even say, and it's way too early to say this, but I think she's going to be the best champion in Pantheon.
I think, well, see, here's the cool thing about multiplayer formats. If you're playing with 4 people and someone flips over their champion and you're like, oh, I'm playing Dao Chan, and everyone knows Dao Chan's a pain in the butt, you just kill the Dao Chan player. So
it's self-policing.
It's a self-balancing kind of thing. I can see Dao Chan being extremely annoying with all of the taxation effects and all that kind of stuff. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think most of that is just like opponents, right? I think a lot of it is like all of the opponents, right? I'll have to go look at the wording on a lot of the tarot cards, but I feel like it's like all opponents.
there are a lot that are giving them to giving your wither counters and your flower buds and everything to a lot of different players. Dao Chan herself, her level 3 is going to wither everything. And then just force a bunch of flower buds to start to exist. And maybe we'll finally actually be able to play like anyway, there's some cool stuff. Anyway. But you're totally right in that deck was a great start to the Fractal deck that was fairly easy for players to learn how to win games with, even though at the high level of play, it was a very difficult game to extract match wins out of. At the highest level, right?
It's one of those decks where that was one of the decks that was super prevalent when I was doing a lot of the shoutcasting this year, and we'll talk about that as well. But I saw a lot of Fractals games, and you see a lot of ins and outs. And what was that card? You don't see it a lot anymore. Is it Zhang Zhao?
Zhang
Zhao. It's like, when do you play your Zhang Zhao? Do you do it for the card draw? It might not be the best play to do it for the card draw in certain situations. So I think it's a little bit more of a complicated deck, but at the base level, it is a lot easier to understand than something like fire chicken Guoja thing, right? You just play fractals the forehead and you burn them, and play fractals and you burn them.
Add a 2 plus 2 times the number of fractals you have. Did you win the game yet? Yes, I did. At the base level, right? But so I think we had a decent like mid-tier Rico deck here, and then we had one that was definitely at the bottom of the power level in its base level 3 variant.
I agree. Yeah.
But it was a. I mean, I think both of those decks though were good starts to competitive lists.
Yeah.
You especially once KFC, as we called it, the
Yeah.
Fire
Yeah.
Aggro Suzaku deck came into being. That like you got some cards that you play that I guess you
Yeah.
can go to. Actually, it's not. There's not many cards in there that you're actually worried about, other than getting. I mean, one thing that was nice is Portentous Tengu got printed in that set,
Oh,
which is
that's
the
sweet.
cheap
Yeah.
backup charger for people.
Yeah. I like seeing that. I mean, they're doing that a lot more in a lot of sets. I keep seeing these pop up every now and then. It's like, here's a backup charger for a specific champion, or a backup charger that costs 4 instead of 3 or something like that. I do like that they're doing that, and they're making it more viable for people to get alternate versions of cards that are more or less staples, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, like, to some degree, all of the Reco deck champions have been meta relevant at one point or another. We'll have to see how Merlin shakes out. Once again, we talked about that. We haven't had any large events with Merlin yet, but so far, even Dao Chan, the worst one, has seen a lot of play. Obviously not her level 3 version. That's one of the big downsides. But yeah, going in chronological order, I just want to touch on. So we're not going to go to Merlin quite yet. I want to touch upon the something that a lot of people don't even know exists. I talked to some folks online, and they didn't even know that the Recollection deck lights were a thing. So there's the Sylvie and Tristan Reco deck lights, and so what they are, if you don't know, because apparently a lot of people don't know, is they are essentially re-releases of the Sylvie and Tristan Recollection decks, but it is just the cards. You still have the full playset, but you don't have the sleeves, you don't have the big box, you don't have the little packs and dividers and all that kind of stuff. It's a very like trimmed down experience, and those released also this year for folks who didn't want to spend like the full $50 for the actual Recollection decks. And these are two Tristan is a very relevant champion, especially this year when Tristan had a big scene at Worlds, but people still love Sylvie, and Sylvie's still a really good deck and a really good way. I think Sylvie's actually a great way to start playing Grand Archive right now, because the deck is straightforward and it's like cute. I think it's really approachable. And I don't remember the exact price. Were these $29.99 for the Reco deck lights?
MSRP is 29, or actually maybe it was 34.99. But they're 30 to 35, just depending on where you get them, I guess.
Yeah, they're a little bit less of a buy-in price. And I think they were cool. I think there was a couple things that small things that they could do better, that I hope they do better in the future. Like the little storage boxes that they come with they look nice, but they're really impractical in
Super
purpose. They when you like pick it up, they slide off very easily. And they can't hold sleeved cards very well or at all. They can't hold a deck. So there's a couple things that they could definitely improve upon that. I've basically found them useless outside of, having them, just not unsleeved. If you want to play with the deck at all, you're going to need another deck box, essentially. Yeah.
These, though, I mean, this product, Recollection Light, is, for the price point especially, like just an incredible product for getting into playing standard Grand Archive. The play set of everything is still in the box. You're not getting the packs, you're not getting the sleeves, you're not getting the little other minor extras or whatever, but you get the play set of everything, and you get a fully functional deck, even if there are some good upgrades to be able to make to it. And I mean, I'm really glad they came out, because those are, like you said, Kel, super fan favorite champions, and it's great to have something I can recommend to new players coming in. Like, oh, just pick up the Sylvie deck, and you can get going right away. Yeah,
I agree. It's I mean, we talked about the price of some stuff a little bit earlier, but if someone was like, hey, I want to play Tristan, I'd be like, yeah, pick up the Reco deck. You'll get a lot of really great cards in there. You'll get your Incaps, your Shadow Strikes, just a ton of really, really good cards for the deck. You will need eventually like Dungeon Guides and Sadie, which are up there, but it's still like a good start at least. You'll use a lot of the cards in the deck, and then Sylvie, you'll probably use like almost all the cards in the deck if you want to play Sylvie. Maybe DGs or not, but still, I think they're a good product, and I think they're a very underlooked product of the year. I think it's probably the most underrated Grand Archive product of the year, just because it kind of and I don't know if this is Weebs of the Shore's fault at all, or if it's just that the community didn't really need them all that much. But I feel like they came out with very little fanfare, right? Like I said, I had posted about them, and some people didn't even know that they existed. Some people were like, "Oh, I wish they would release the Reco decks, but cheaper and just the decks." And I was like, "They did. They literally did. That's what this is."
That's funny.
So, I don't know if it was like a marketing thing, or like I said, or maybe just it wasn't needed by a majority of the community. But I do think they're very good, and I hope that part of it doesn't dissuade Weebs of the Shore from doing it again, because I would like to see them do the Reco deck lights again, maybe with a much better deck box. But yeah, I like the product, and I like to see them do more of it. Yeah, and then there's Merlin, which is the newest one. Merlin's super interesting. Had basically the same stuff inside it as the previous Reco decks, except it had these weird little crystal dice things. Oh, he's got them right on the table. I have mine like over there.
I have stuff everywhere here.
I have all the Reco decks sleeved up and like unmodified and kind of like a little battle box thing. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say like competitive viability of the Merlin deck right now. We talked about it a little bit before. I think the champion is super cool. I think it's interesting. And it's like a medium-ish complexity. I don't feel it's like super. It looks complicated. It looks complicated. You look at the thing, it's got a bunch of words, but when it breaks down to it, it's like you put counters on your opponent's thing and then you whack them. Like you put the counters and then you hit the thing or you kill it or whatever. That's kind of what it breaks down to. And a lot of it is just doing that, like facilitating that. Put the counters on your opponent's stuff and then you hit them. It's like a 1-2 punch kind of thing. So in terms of like complexity, I think it's not too bad. Maybe optically it looks complicated, but yeah. And I will say I haven't played with it a ton. I've only played it, like I mentioned, only played the Reco deck, and I've only played it a handful of times. But I thought it was fun. Yeah. What do you think, Dan? You've definitely played it more than me, and you've definitely, I assume, played like actual like attempted competitive versions at least of it. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the Merlin Reco deck?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of discourse around the level of complexity of Merlin. I think the amount of words and stuff on the champion is very, very, very high.
It's a lot. It's a lot of words for sure.
But I also agree with you totally, which is like you can break that down super simply for people, and it's really not that complicated at that point. But that is not. I'm not saying that to excuse the fact that it is a deck that just has a high level of, I should say maybe like a low level of grok ability, right? It's like, it's just like you read this card writer, like, man, I don't even remember what this said earlier. And so it creates a different level of complexity than we saw in the Dao-Chan deck, where Dao-Chan is complex. She's fairly easy to understand, but complex to like actually try and extract wins from.
Yeah, that's mostly from like trying to do the right things to not die, right?
Right, exactly. Whereas Merlin is super complex when you first read the card, and then you kind of like play a few turns and you go, oh, okay, actually, like I just kind of get it. It is definitely, it's more in the medium level of complexity when you actually start playing it out.
It reminds me a lot in multiple ways. It reminds me a lot of certain Japanese trading card games, which is kind of funny because Weebs of the Shore really prides themselves on having like Western game design, but it really reminds me a lot of Japanese TCGs, like a lot of Bushiroad games actually, like Weiss Schwarz or Vanguard, where the cards have this giant brick of text. But what it actually does is very simple. It just has to spell everything out. Like the cards, what it literally says is just like, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and grab a specific card, right? But it has a giant brick of text, and you have to remember what brick of text does the thing. And that's just kind of what it reminds me of. It's like what you're actually doing, like the game actions that you're taking aren't like super complicated. It's just like they have to spell it out with these just paragraphs, these little mini essays.
Right.
Like, put the counter here, hit the thing, get the counter, put the counter on your thing. Yeah. So I understand, like, yeah, it's like part part of it's like an optics thing, especially when they're like, here's the champion, here's their abilities, but that's not it. You need another card to put all the abilities on.
I mean, the masteries are interesting. I love the idea of masteries, and when they're used well, I think they're super cool. Like, I think Kongming was a great introduction to them because, like, there is not a really good way to do shifting currents without another card in play to manage it.
The Kongming one is great just because of the physicality of it. Like,
right.
Like turning it, like physically turning it is super cool.
Some masteries could just be inherited effects on the card, but there isn't enough card space.
Yeah.
And so that's like that's I get where people are a little more critical of that, because it really just feels like we're just trying to jam as much text as possible onto a card, and we ran out and we're like, okay, well, just make another card then. Which is fine. Like, I don't know. I'm not personally bothered by it, but I know that people are. So it's something where I was glad to hear that the next Recollection deck we're getting is aimed at new players and is made to be less complex. It's Mordred. With Radiant Origins, and
big man smash.
Yeah, which is good. I think that's great. Like, I don't want the game to constantly be creeping complexity up. But you did ask me also just like about the general playability of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to share a really interesting moment that I think is not something that players necessarily know about. But when I get the opportunity to make that kind of deep dive Recollection deck video for Weaves of the Shore, they host them on their website and everything. Those are commission videos that we do, and I get banned from being able to play in events for a period of time for doing them. And that when I do that video, I play the Recollection deck or the starter deck, depending, a really good amount of games. And this time with Merlin, world champion Taylor wanted to do it because he is, in addition to being the world champion, he's also the world's #1 Merlin fan.
Okay.
And so I said, hey, it's Merlin. And he's like, cool, I will be banned from whatever. I want to play this thing. And so he came over to the studio and we were playing games, and he could not win a game with this deck. And we were playing into other Recollection decks, mostly into Guoja and Tristan, which are really nice kind of middle of the road again decks to play and just like, get a good mid-range kind of game out of it. And he just like, I just like bodied him over and over again. And then he was like, he was close a number of times. We're like, yeah, but you just can't get there. Right. And then we flipped sides and I was like, let me try. I'm going to try playing Merlin, and realized that a big difference in the approach was that he was playing this water deck as a mid-range to control deck. And I just said, what if I put out Poison Dagger right now? And then, put some stuff on and pass turn. And I cranked the pressure up on him and just tried, like, I changed my mentality with that deck from like, how do I gain resources and not lose the game, to how do I put 3 Sheen on your guy and attack you and then just like stress you out, pressure you out of the game. And then it was winning like every game it was playing. Close still, but like, it really highlighted to me how these Recollection decks are sometimes the rap they get is really, and I don't want to be a broken record, but it's because the game is so open-ended and tough to play that 2 players who are at the same skill level, or I mean, Taylor's a higher skill than me, but like even higher skill players can sit down, and if they just don't have the same mindset that another player might have, the experience playing them could be totally different.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that for sure. Especially if you are used to playing a certain element a certain way, right? Like water is, I don't want to say it's the like control element, but a lot of people play water in a very controlling way. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Taylor really likes playing water, right? That's one of his, one of his go-tos.
If Taylor could only play like dumb control decks that just don't want your opponent to do anything until some dumb card comes out and just kills you, if he could only play those for the rest of his life, he would. It's 100% his favorite thing to do. He loves Water Merlin. He loves the Wind Merlin that just like doesn't die until it times out.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, he loves doing this. Main deck Mitch too, but Mitch is like just off topic, but Mitch is like sadistically in that camp. Taylor's a little less sadistic, but still they're peas in a pod in some ways that way too.
Yeah, I can see that because like the deck kind of clicked for me pretty quickly, but I like playing not just aggression, but I like playing like tempo type decks. I like playing mid range. Like I would say if you had to tell me what kind of deck that I like the most, is probably going to boil down to something like mid range in like every TCG. Mid range in GA is a little bit weird, but yeah, the deck just kind of clicked with me. I'm like, yeah, put counters, smack you. Like I just want to hit you every time. Like that's what I want to be doing. If I'm not doing that, then I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't know. I personally really like the deck. I think it's fun, but once again, we don't know how competitively viable it is. And it is kind of a, thinking about it, it is kind of a weird deck. There's not a ton of allies in the deck. There's like a couple.
One.
There's
one
the
ally.
Mouse, right?
Dormouse Informant is the only ally in the deck.
Yeah, there's cards that make allies, right? There's
correct. Yes.
Yeah,
but
there's
technically.
but there's also only a couple of those too. There's like the ones that make the birds and the ones that make the golems, but there's still not very many of them. So yeah, it is a kind of like a different flavor, and I want to say I actually really like that. I really like that they're doing different stuff in the Reco decks, where it's not just a different coat of paint for a champion that already exists. Here's this weird new thing, which is cool. So yeah, and what the Reco decks do also I think is great. Up until this point, they're not really a haven of reprints, right? They are new cards. That's what they've been using them for. They are a place where they print new cards and new strategies, or like juicing up existing strategies like Sylvie, right? Like we had Slimes before, but here's like now Slimes is like an actual thing. So I like what they've been doing with that. Well, next year maybe we'll see a different take. They're adding more reprints in, and like desired reprints, but up until now I like what they've been doing with the Reco decks, and I think it's been really cool. Yeah.
I think the Merlin deck is really, really fun. I also want her to be competitively viable. I think the artwork is gorgeous. The concept is really cool. It's just been tricky to find that kind of perfect mix. But again, we got Capstone set coming up here. Maybe we got the extra sauce.
It's also one of those ones where I'm like, please don't use the freaking mirror, because I don't have the mirror yet. So I'm just like, if it's a good deck, don't use the mirror. I don't want to. I have the other ones. I don't have the mirror.
I regret to inform you that PTM continued the the distortion theme in our ultra rare slot. So just like with Cheshire Cat, there are builds of Merlin where your deck starts with one Looking Glass and then 4 more main deck URs that you can play once you're level 1. Turn 1 is bad, but once you're level 1, the Merlin unit is very good.
I did pull the Merlin unit. I still don't have the Looking Glass. I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to Radiant Origins more ways than one. But until then, I'll keep using my proxy. I have a really pretty proxy at least. Okay, so moving on, we have a couple more things to talk about before we end the video here. It's already getting a little bit long, but we do have a couple more releases to quickly go over. Then we have events, which are really important. The releases, I think we can maybe be fairly quick about these. I don't think there's a ton to say. And that is like Supporter Pack 3. So we did have Supporter Pack 3 come out this year. And if you don't know what Supporter Pack is, it's essentially a 100% alternate art reprint mini set that is something that you can find almost exclusively at Grand Archive events or conventions that Grand Archive is at. You can usually pick them up from the merch store or whatever, and they're just reprints. So it's not something that you need to buy as like a player. It's just some little nice thing that you get some alternate art cards. If you get lucky, you can get a CSR, and sometimes I have joke meme box toppers, that kind of stuff. I just recently got my full playset of Slice and Dice meme cards, and yeah, I don't know, it's fine. I like that they're doing this. I like that it's a thing that exists. And I don't really have much else to say other than like maybe this one didn't have like valuable reprints like maybe some people might have wanted. But I did like the cards in it, and I personally liked some of the alternate arts. I liked the the trap. I like the siphoning trap. I like all the assassin stuff. So I like the siphoning
Well, yeah,
trap.
we all know what you like, Kel.
Like black market broker. So yeah. So maybe the downside of this is trying to look at it other perspectives is maybe it could have had better or more valuable reprints, I guess you could say.
I think I like supporter packs not as the method of reprinting valuable cards into the marketplace. I actually that might sound weird to people, but I want supporter packs as a way to get really cool versions of cards that I just already have, and I just want I want to flex this. I don't want people to buy up supporter packs because, oh, well, if you open a Fracture Eyes, it pays for the box or whatever.
Right.
Which, I mean, like, maybe, I don't know. I want those to be accessible in products people can get at their LGS is the difference. Right.
Right.
So I'm fine with, like, give me the Forest Cake, give me the Library Witch, give me the Astral Seal in here was really cool. Although that card was worth a couple bucks at least. So
I also replaced all my Astral Seals with the Ari Astral Seals. Yeah. Actually, my Ari deck has a ton of supporter pack cards in it too. I have all the other supporter pack stuff too. I think, I can see where you're coming from with that for sure. I think a good middle point, and this is one of those things where the developers have to be very mindful of it. You can't just accidentally oops into this, is that putting reprints that are close to the value of the box where it doesn't encourage like scalping or anything like that, but you still feel good about getting a nice card. I mean, I think there's kind of like a middle ground you could do there. But overall, I personally like supporter pack, even if I do think that maybe they could put like, I don't know, like Dungeon Guide or something, that like, a card that's like $20 and you're spending like 40. These are like $40, I think, right?
Yeah. So
like if you pull like $40 worth of cards and you spend $40, but they're all like cool alternate arts, I think you'd feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
And then you still have the chance to get something great. You still have a chance to get like a CSR. My luck is bad. I've literally only ever got one CSR in the many boxes that I've opened, but
hey, I've got none.
Okay, well,
I might have opened more than you actually.
You probably have actually. Yeah, your luck is pretty close to mine actually. Thinking about like other things. Yeah. Neither of us are very great at pulling like CSRs or CURs. Have you ever opened up a CUR at all?
No.
Okay.
And I famously opened 15 boxes of 18 boxes of DOA first edition on stream and did not pull a CUR.
Yeah, I was there for most of that stream.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that. I did open up one CUR. I did open up one, even if it was a bad Xander. It was a level 3 Xander that no one plays.
Sure.
But still, I did get that at least from my Kickstarter boxes. Actually, I might have more. I still have one Kickstarter box that I kept sealed. It's literally in my background that I might open up someday.
You have a number 1 that hasn't been pulled yet. It's
maybe.
Right
like it's either that or it's going to be like one of the worst boxes. It could be one of those terrible Kickstarter boxes that has like 2 SRs and like nothing else.
True.
We'll
yeah,
see.
They did that. Those were rough.
Yeah, we'll see. But overall supporter pack, I like it. I'm glad that they're keeping, doing it. All proceeds for it like goes to like organized play and that kind of stuff, which I think is really cool. And it's a cool way to help do that. And once again, it's just a extra thing you don't need to interface with if you don't like it. And so for that reason alone, I think it's really cool. And then other than that is the alter releases. I'll be honest, alter releases aren't a huge thing for me. I love that they give new cards, right? And they have reprints, but I personally don't really engage with it all that much unless there's like a new card that I want, like a Wind Blast Lookout or whatever. Then I'm like, oh, I need 4 of these for my deck. I actually had like a large discussion with Silidar about whether or not they should even exist. He and I had a nice back and forth. I was on the side of maybe they shouldn't exist, but he had a lot of, good things to say about it. I don't put words in his mouth. I don't remember what he said, but he was fairly convincing about it. I'm still like kind of ambivalent on alter releases.
We just had
how do you feel about them?
It was just Mercurial Heart Alter Edition this year.
Which
was good because that set, like I mentioned earlier, that set sold out way too fast and it was very hard to get, and cards are super expensive from it. So,
backup Charger, really expensive rare. Yeah.
Yep. Backup Sadie, which we've said multiple times here.
Still need more Sadies, actually.
Yep. No, Sadie still, there needs to be more in the marketplace. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue with them is that the time delay is a little rough. Because when
Yeah.
Mercurial Heart Altar comes out, we're already on to, the Abyssal Heaven had released already. And we were towards the end of Abyssal Heaven when that came out. So that, yeah, I think that's right. Maybe I mixed my timeline up, but whatever. We were
I mean,
a bit past it, right?
it sounds right because we're just now getting A and B, in like a month, right, from now. We just getting it in January, so I don't know. It feels the timeline feels right.
I feel like I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like, well, AMB was delayed is the thing. AMB was delayed because there was still so much AMB first edition product in the marketplace that we were going to have AMB Ultra Edition months ago. But they said, you know what, we're just going to hold on to it. We're not going to release it at the planned time because it was still too easy to get first edition AMB. And so that's like the tricky thing about Ultra Editions is just figuring out how to inject those in the marketplace because you need more product to exist for those sets. It's just, yeah, like I understand where you're coming from and where Sill's coming from, Kel. It's a complicated thing. TCGs are super complicated in general, obviously, but at the end of the day, I am glad that we have versions of these sets that still exist. And I'm usually glad when they can go back and like prop up older strategies a little bit when they like maybe miss the mark slightly on power level or something.
It does give them, it gives them an avenue to print stuff for specific champions too. I mean, outside of like Proxy's Vault, they could be like, oh, maybe Calling Me needs a cool card or whatever. We already know
what we're seeing in the next ones. Yeah.
And I also want to mention, just as an aside, I know a lot of people don't see it because they're maybe not in these various discords, but a lot of people say a lot of or not a lot of people, some very loud minorities are like, GA content creators just glaze the game. I'm literally having like arguments with Celadar, like large, like, but the civil, that's one thing I love about GA. He and I like had a nice discussion talking about it, and I'm like, I don't even know if this should exist, but we had a cool discussion about it. And I just wanted to kind of lump that in with that, because I did speak to him about it because I had concerns. I wouldn't call them concerns. I was just like questioning, it was just kind of like do we need these kind of thing? Like my perspective is like, couldn't we just have only first edition and like that's it? But the serialized nature of CORs makes it tough. That's kind of like one of the linchpins. So that's one of the things we talked. Anyway. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just hard for people to even have gotten an hour into this video at this point and say that we glaze everything. I don't think we pulled punches on anything where we felt like, there are improvements to be made. I
think I love Grand Archive, and I've been a huge support, just like you, man, huge supporter of it since like day one, pre-day one. And that's why I make content about it, because I genuinely really, really love the game and I want to support it. And so naturally I make things that I want to talk about, and I love the game, and so there you go. But if it's something is a little off, or I'm like, question it, I don't know, I just instead of complaining about it, I just go straight to Celadar. He and I actually had some interesting conversations, really good, interesting design conversations. We talked about aggro in Grand Archive before, in the Rogues Gallery Discord. I don't know. It's good. Maybe I'm talking myself into maybe asking Celadar to be on a video, talk about some stuff sometime. I don't know.
You should.
We'll see. Yeah, I remember we've had some good, this is a good segue, by the way. We've had some good conversations with Celadar at some of the ascents that we've been to this year. And this is true. Celadar is at most ascents. I don't know if he's at literally all of them, but he's at a lot of them, especially the ones for the US, right? And he's chill. You'll see him walking around. Sometimes he sleeps like an owl, kind of like I do. So maybe he doesn't show up until halfway through the day. But so for the ascents, there's a lot of ascents this year. Dan went to many times more than I did. The two that I went to, and I did shoutcast for both of these, were Ascent Seattle and Ascent Worlds. Now I'm planning to go to a lot more next year. Some of them I might not be shoutcasting, but we'll talk about that in a later time. Overall take, I think Grand Archive does premier level competitive events extremely well. I think it's one of the things that they do better than almost anyone. Even like the big dogs. I've been to a lot of tournaments. I've been to a lot of events. Magic, Flesh and Blood. I went to a lot of competitive Flesh and Blood events, and Bushiroad events. And I think Grand Archive does it among the best. I think they set the bar extremely high, not just from like player offerings, but also from like enthusiast offerings, if that makes sense. Like if you like Grand Archive, it's great to go because there's like cool stuff at the merch store. There's artists usually. There's like a lot of stuff to engage with, and I think it's only getting better. Before we get into specifics about like the events, I just want to mention like a couple cool things that I just want to mention about Grand Archive that I think is really cool that no one else does, or not that I know of at least. So for a sense, it was a bigger thing this year that they started to offer. I think they just call it Ladies' Night, which I think is super cool. It's a way that female players can engage with Grand Archive in a way that's like approachable or very like non-threatening or whatever. I think it's just cool that they offer this, right? And no other game that I can think of. Well, actually, there's some Japanese games that I know do this in Japan specifically. I don't know if they do this in the US, but I know Shadowverse Evolve does that in Japan for their large scale, like 2,000 player Japanese events. But I still think it's awesome, and I think it shows mindfulness of the community, like as like individuals rather than just like, hey, we want your money and attention. They're like, hey, we care about the players, which I think is cool.
We onboarded in our locals a new player this year who came in because she wanted to try the game with her son, who was already playing it with us. And she came to Worlds, and I got to talk to her about her experience with Ladies' Night, and she was glowing about the friends she was able to connect with, make and connect with there, who she was able to see throughout the rest of the event. The play experience, the just like you said, the having that sort of dedicated space for a subset of players of the game who can very, very easily feel like they don't belong, based on how the majority of the demographics of players tend to act in certain card game spaces or whatever. It's really, really great just to have that welcoming environment, that space to exist in. And it's awesome. I love that is something that came into the game. I think maybe it started last year, but it's been going. It's good.
It felt like this is like, I mean, I don't know exactly when it started, but it felt like it was really in full swing this year. And I felt like there was some feedback on it that got also like hammered out this year too. I remember there being a thing where like there's like scheduling things. The timing is weird. Yeah. But I know that that's something that they took to heart, and they worked on making that a lot better, which is cool. And that's just part, like I said, just part of a sense that I think they just killed it. And once again, Artist Alley, that's some of the coolest Artist Alleys that I've seen. At Worlds they had their Artist Alley was like all custom made with like custom banners for every individual artist with their names printed on it. It's not like other events that I've been to. I don't want to keep slamming Magic, but I've been to Magic tournaments where like, RK Post, here's your little fold out table and do whatever you want with it, kind of deal. They actually like made it into like a thing that was incorporated. And I think a lot of it boils down to, as someone who has attended like anime conventions, it feels like a mix between an anime convention and a trading card game tournament. And I think, it's very intentional, and it's cool. So I just want to say how great Ascents are. I always have a blast at every single one. And yeah, that's my general thoughts on Ascents before we kind of get down into it.
You want me to go off on my list now?
yeah. So I'll quickly shoot the two events, and then I'll pass it to you because I know you have a lot. Sure. So I was at Seattle and at Worlds. So Seattle, it was great. It was one of not as much pageantry as Worlds. Worlds was amazing, and I would highly recommend anyone, if you can make it to Grand Archive Worlds, I recommend it. It's gonna be tough next year is going to be in Singapore. Tough for people in the US, not as tough for people in Southeast Asia, which I think is a nice trade-off. Actually, I think it's good to balance that kind of stuff. And Seattle was still pretty cool, and I enjoyed it. So I don't have too much to say without getting really into like minutia that I don't think anyone cares about. Like, oh, this is the meta where fractals was the thing. It was like water fractals. But I will say that like Worlds was great, and from the production side of things, the team is just getting better and better. I've and Dan has also we've been shoutcasting for this game basically since the start. Both of us have shoutcasted both Worlds so far, and the production quality has increased by magnitudes. by magnitudes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very, very impressed. I've done casting with Channel Fireball, Star City Games, some of the biggest names in like TCG, production. And I think Grand Archive's quality is like, it's up there, right? I think like SCG and CFB have a much bigger budget with a game like Magic the Gathering, but Grand Archive does amazing things with what they have, and I was very impressed. I don't know, like I said, I don't want to glaze it too much, but it's just the truth, man. Like if you've seen the live streams, they're good. Everything from like the overlays, and I know the artist who does the overlays. I don't know if it's public who they are, but shout out to them. They know who they are. They do an amazing job. Yeah, so that's my spiel on a sense. I think they're fantastic. I think production quality has increased dramatically to the point where it kind of mogs a lot of other card games, man. You look at some productions and you look at Grand Archives, and Grand Archives, they set the bar extremely high.
Yes.
And maybe unrealistically too high for some other indie games where they don't have the sheer drive and passion that goes behind Grand Archive. That's my take on a couple ascents. Dan, I know you're gonna have a bit of a different opinion on this. Well, maybe not a different opinion, but a more fleshed out opinion, because not only have you been on the production side of things, but you've also been pretty involved on the player side of things. Maybe not directly, but maybe a little bit directly, but also from like a team composition side of things. So go off, man.
All right. First of all, I mean, the production-wise, 100% correct, especially Worlds. The budget for Worlds was way bigger than the budget of all the other ascents, and you could tell. Yeah. It was like if Grand Archive had the budget they had for Worlds for every single ascent, it would remove basically everything that anyone can come up with as criticism for the Grand Archive streams. They would just be, and you would Cal, you'd stop saying they might be better than what you would just go,
literally what I'm doing is when I say they might be better, I'm literally comparing them to companies that have budgets of millions of dollars, like Pokemon, right? I'm literally comparing them to companies that like have like almost infinite money. And the fact that they're doing what they're doing with what they have is kind of crazy. So
so my list is there were 6 ascents I was at, counting Worlds, and then 1 Nationals that I went to.
Okay.
And I'll just start chronologically. But at the start of the year, team took a trip to Europe and did a little 3 country traveling trip, about 10-day thing total. And we went to Ascent Utrecht, and I played in that one. And playing in that, just like I don't want to have to hammer all this stuff in, so I'm just going to say there are events that happen outside of the country, and especially the ones in Europe, that need a little TLC. There were things that, because you didn't have TM32 directly on site doing production, you didn't have as much of the team on there guiding things along, and there are little hiccups and hurdles and issues and stuff, and that's all, it's all stuff that I think everybody knows, and it's stuff they're going to work on. But as far as any of the ascents that are like in the US were clean, and then ones that are outside, minor things that I think are still getting worked on, as basically as like Weaves the Shore starts to work with their partners that are kind of running those things for them and make sure everybody gets on the same page about how things should be run. Um, Utrecht was from a play experience. Really cool. It was in the watermill meta, like deep into the watermill meta. I like the watermill meta. Not everybody likes the watermill meta. Um, and I was winning in on stream on day one. So I did not end up day twoing this because I was against the world champion of 2024, Glenny Boy, on that winning in. I had the win, but I misplayed in the final turn.
Oh no.
That was what it was. I if I had put down one card differently, I won that game and made it into day two. I did not. Glenny and I we go back now. We're good friends. We laughed, we shook. He even let me see, like, after I screwed up, I still had a chance to win, but time was up. But he was like, just see if you had it. And then I like play a stratagem and I need to hit 3 float and I hit 2. And I'm like, well, okay. It's like getting 2 float on, like, I don't remember how 9, 10, 11 cards and something. Was like, that was pretty low odds. And one of us was just going to concede based on what happened. Like, well, yeah, I mean, sure, you got it then. I think technically we went to time, but we just we had both effectively just decided based on the result of that, it was either he was going to scoop or I was going to scoop, because yeah, I don't know, because that's how it goes sometimes. And so I just said, all right, cool, like, you got it. Because if we tie, neither of us make it in. It's obviously awful.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a sportsmanship moment, I think, for both of us. He made it to day 2, and then he made 4th place. So he made top 8 and made 4th place, which is really, and I felt awesome about that. I was like, this is incredible, like, well deserved. But yeah, Utrecht was a fun experience. I had a moment where I got to guest cast day 2 also, which was really cool. And I sold some, I don't know why they've been doing a bit selling like salesman shipping playmats on the live stream. I'm like, okay, I don't know. That was kind of weird. Something that the production decided to do. So, went to Ascent Seattle with you, Kel.
Yep.
Fun experience. Yumi and Valk casting that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, fresh meta game, but fractals popping off. The whole team had been teching on, like, working on the tech for fractals the whole time. Like, True Champion Gaming showed up with the exact same list there. And they had previously shown up with the exact same list to Santa Clara when Watermill became a breakout. So this is like the second event in a row where True Champ had inadvertently come up with the same list that we did and played it at the next Ascent. Which does matter for the rest of my story, which was just kind of funny. But yeah, then that ended up, no one in main deck made it to top 8 on that one, but True Champ did, so they had a good run. Then we went to NA Nationals, but it was at Ascent Seattle, or shortly after there, at the Michigan Regional, that we met with True Champion Gaming at their regional. And we agreed on what ended up being called the Sakura Oath, which is main deck and True Champion Gaming decided to start preparing for Nationals and World Season together. And that went really well, to put it lightly. Following that, we went to NA Nationals. And at NA Nationals, 5 of the 8 top 8 slots were either main deck or True Champion Gaming. It was won by neither of us. It was won by Joe Faccia, who's a really great player also. But we had from Nationals, Taylor taking 4th, Mitch taking 8th, and then Corbin snuck in a gauntlet at 12th at NA Nationals as well. So all main deck members. Then we went to Ascent Worlds. I was casting again. So that was, who was it? Cam was casting that one, myself and Tyler, I think. Once in Love, I feel like.
And for which one?
For Nationals, right?
Oh, for Nationals, I think.
Because Tyler hadn't started his hosting role. Yeah, that was, I think, his last one before he became a host. Yeah. Then we went to Ascent Worlds and Worlds and Ascent Worlds. Yeah. And well, the team had a bad showing at the Ascent 3v3. I'm on their butts about that one. I'm like, come on, guys, like we're gonna do better in Singapore. But Worlds went all right for the team.
Yeah, you could say that, I guess. It did okay.
Once again, the top 8 spots were 5 out of 8 main deck team members.
Yeah.
Or main deck or TCG team members, Sakura Oath members. But this time it was mostly TCG. 4 of them made it in. However, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Mitch from main deck was playing in one of the placement tiebreaker matches against Henky the Goat.
Oh yeah.
And Mitch made in one of those games. Mitch made a play that I think a lot of people watching the game would consider a bit of a greedy play, but like kind of taking a risk reward line. He had triple attacked with Frosthorn Paladins, putting Henky on a 1-turn clock, and just assuming Henky couldn't crack back enough to get there. Where if he had left one of the Paladins up, he was guaranteed not to crack back and get there. But it was going to be a 2-turn clock or three-turn clock, counting that turn, right? And Henky got there and took Mitch out. To get to Worlds, you got to take risks. Like, it's something that happens, and he took a risk. If he had done it the other way, it's possible that Mitch actually made it in and took. If he won that game, he guaranteed made it in, and it would have been 6 out of 8 TCG and main deck, 4 TCG, 2 main deck. The big story of the event was that TCG and main deck came up with a plan well in advance, watched how the metagame was moving or not moving, and would execute the plan whether or not it looked like it would work. And going into the event, it looked like it would work. So at the Gauntlet, which is where we had several TCG members, as well as Corbin and Mitch were in Gauntlet as well. Everybody from the Oath played Genbu, except Corbin, because he didn't want to. He played Luxem. He played Win Luxem instead. Corbin ends up winning the whole thing. He 4Xs and draws out and wins, and it's his first place in Gauntlet. But everybody else plays Genbu, and the story of the Gauntlet was it was the good deck, so they were all good players, and so you only had to win like half of your rounds to get there, and they all made it in on Genbu. And then going into day 1 of Worlds, they all flipped, and they all went to Fractals. Except Corbin, who went OX, last place, 32nd place in Worlds, which is very, very funny. Unfortunate, but very
it's
funny.
It's a very quite literal win some, you lose some.
Yeah, he won He only won, and then he only lost.
Yeah.
But everyone playing Fractals had to just lose to each other because they all got to the top spots, and all they did was play mirror matches in the midday. And so the swap made it so that everybody going to Worlds was super unprepared for Fractals to exist. There was only one other player, I think, who swapped to Fractals, who was not part of the team. And otherwise, like, that was it. And it was shooting fish in a barrel for the team because it was just trying to play to the outs of like, okay, like, players think Fractals isn't a thing. Dissonant Fractal just got banned. We'll swap to this, and nobody's got the Safeguards main. Nobody's got the Scatter Essences main or even side. And they were just able to kind of take games by knowing the deck really well and minimizing the amount of tech that they had to face against. Going then into the top 8, of course, we had 4 members of TCG in there: Girthos, Perfy, Cabin, and Terry. I was just trying to order things correctly. I think that's maybe the order they placed in, or maybe Perfy and Girthos swapped. But then Taylor, of course. And going into top 8 was one of the coolest moments I can imagine, where they got together after everyone made it in. They're like, the Oath got together, like, so what do we do? And they're like, everyone's on their own. Know, like, the Oath breaks for this moment. It's like, whatever, like, you just play to win. And I'm up with Taylor the night before trying to figure out, like, okay, what do we play? What are we doing? What's everyone else going to play? Like, I think Girthos might stay on Fractals or go to Tristan. Maybe, I don't know. Actually, I don't think we thought Tristan at the time. I think that was later that he was playing Tristan. But he might stay on Fractals. Perfy might stay on Fractals or go to Merlin because he loves Merlin. What are Cabin and Terry going to do? I have no idea. Literally could be anything. Taylor sends a text to the group at 3 or 4 a.m. He wakes up at 4 a.m. because he can't sleep because he's about to go to Worlds. Yeah. Sends a text to our group that I see at like 6 a.m. or whatever. And it says, I think I'm locking in on Tristan. And we're like, okay. I mean, I don't know. Sure. Why not? Tristan's a deck that was like a lot of players would say is not the deck to play in Worlds. Because it's a good deck, but is it a Worlds caliber deck in the Fractal and Genbu meta? But he's like, I think this is the list. And it's like 3 Brackish Ludus main because he knows the first player he's playing against is What Do You Min on Genbu. So he's got 3 Brackish Ludus main just to try and shut down stuff. And some other like small techie changes or whatever. And I'm the coach, so it's time to be encouraging. And I message him back, that looks like the World's winning list.
Yeah.
And he goes in, faces What Do You Min, loses game 1, even though he's got the main board tech for it, and then wins game 2 and 3. And there's a moment of like me on the camera watching.
I don't want to bury the lead, but man, he had some legendary reverse sweeps that day.
Oh, incredible. Yeah, that was one of them.
From the start, yeah.
That was one of them. That reverse sweep was ridiculous because he was supposed to win game 1 and then managed to win a second game. He lost game 1, didn't have really much other tech other than the main board stuff, and then just managed to take game 2 and 3. Goes up against Caben and turns out Caben and Terry went to fire aggro Xander and there's a video, at least one video on YouTube that covers this, but doesn't understand the reason and doesn't explain. But Caben and Terry switched to fire aggro Xander for this because they were first and second seed. That's the full reason. And they had talked about this the entire season saying, man, I wish we could have an event where we go in and we're first and second seed so we can just play fire aggro Xander and just win all our matches because you get to go first when you're the highest seed. And they got first and second seed, and they talked to each other the night before. They said, let's do it. It's time. You win game 1 and then you just got to win one more. Which you'll have, right? But Caben goes against when they get day 3 of the event was all of the top 8 matches. So then that night, they know they're facing Taylor. Caben's facing Taylor next, and if Taylor wins, Terry's facing Taylor. So they sit down and they practice the matchup. And we learn later that they were playing the matchup and they were like 1 in 20 games they were able to take against Tristan. And Tristan, Tristan is just so good at shutting down everything Xander's doing. So Caben goes against Taylor, and Taylor just basically enacts the laws and is able to take it, right? Then, we go to Worlds, and it's well known at this point. Like you said, Kel, the reverse sweep. Terry starts out 2-0 against Taylor.
Yeah.
He pulls it around, reverse sweeps back, and Taylor ends up the world champion. And I have to say, that was one of, for me, as the coach of the team, as getting Taylor into the game, working with Taylor, helping Taylor with lists, practicing, planning. That was one of the proudest moments of my life. I've never felt so proud. I don't even know if I knew what pride felt like, until that moment. It was amazing. It was the moment of the year for me.
It was, I don't think I've mentioned this or talked about this much, but it was kind of I don't know the right word for it. I was gonna say surreal. I don't know if that's the right word for it. But the night before, we had like a kind of like a staff dinner thing, but Taylor was there and he was sitting next to me, actually. We were eating at this fancy like steakhouse thing, and he and I were just chatting the whole time, going into it. We know he's going into the top 4. And we were talking about Grand Archive. We were just chatting, talking about traveling, going to like France, and just talking about stuff. And at the end, I was like, I try to be impartial, but I was like, you got this, man. And just to watch it, and it was such a nail biter too, right? Like I really felt it as like a fan of Grand Archive, as a shoutcaster, but also as someone who like knows you, and to a lesser extent knows Taylor as well. He's a good dude, and just kind of seeing the reverse sweep in action was extremely, what's the right word? Nail biting is not the right word, but it's there was a lot of suspense. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I was literally just sitting there watching it with everyone else, like in one of the seats, and it was just kind of like we're just like chatting. I think maybe Velk was sitting next to me. We're just like chatting as it was going, and then Taylor won one game, and we're like, all right, well he's still got a long ways to go, right? Because if you don't know, the grand finals is best of 5, right? It's not a best of 3 kind of situation, and it went like, did it go all the way to all 5 games, if I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
right.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
a full
it was like
reverse sweep.
it
2
was
for Terry and
full,
then 3 for Taylor.
yeah, 2 Terry and then 3 in a row. And it was like remarkable too. It wasn't like every game was like so close, so much of a nail biter. I highly recommend going and watching them if you haven't seen them, if you want to see some like awesome Grand Archive gameplay, especially since, hey, it's my 2 like favorite class. I mean, it's my favorite class and 2 of my favorite champions as well. You have Fire Xander and you have like Wind Tristan. So like, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, it was insane. And it was like peak TCG competitive stuff. So
it was amazing. I mean, nothing tops that for the rest of the year, but we did have Ascent Boston after that, which I was casting, and that was that cool moment of Horse and Taxes or Ponytas.
Oh yeah.
Comic Chess Club surprised everyone, broke the format, the Ryle format, and really popped off with that deck. That was really fun to see. We went to Ascent Niagara Falls after that, and I was playing in that one, and I finally got to day 2 an event again, which felt really
Nice.
good. I was on my girl Tristan, and I had the most cursed matches of my life going against constant Razorgale decks when the night before I was like, you know what? I really just don't think I'm going to see Razorgale, and I pulled the Scatter Essences out of the side.
Oh no!
And then I played Razorgale for nearly half of my matches. And there were not many Razorgale players in the room. There was one team that was on it, and then like 1 or 2 random players, including the winner of the event, that were on it. But I just faced them all, man. But I plowed through, in every single match against Razorgale, despite not having the tech, I took one of the games. And like, I will say about my performance that day, I felt good about myself again after that event, because I made every single match a fight, and made decisions throughout the event where I felt like I have to make a decisive decision here. I made it, and it won me the match. And it really that reminded me of how much it simultaneously reminded me about how much I enjoy about playing competitive Grand Archive, and also how stressful playing competitive Grand Archive is, and how I'm like totally cool casting events.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ascent Niagara Falls was fantastic. Ultimately, at the end, we had at this point picked up both Perfy and Gurathos on the main deck team, as well as earlier after Seattle. JC Kalange is a player who top 8'd Seattle earlier, and then we added him to the team afterwards. So we did have a top there, retroactively.
Right.
Right. But at Niagara, Perfy topped, took 8th place, and then Alex, who's a new player on main deck, started literally this year, took 2nd place at Niagara with Seryu.
It's very good.
That guy, he popped off. He started the game and just was grinding with, shout out to main deck Tony, one of his biggest opponents. He got to play him all the time, and then he's playing with the rest, the team, Taylor, Mitch, Steve-O, and just like really starting to like get the reps in. And that guy knows Seryu like the back of his hand. He did super incredibly well and took 2nd there, which is fantastic. And then we went on to Ascent Akihabara, the biggest event Grand Archives ever had. It was super fun. Casting it was crazy cool. Getting to cast with Hero and Freedom was very, very fun. I was honored to be able to cast that one. And it was a cool send-off to the year, even though the top 8 ended up being like kind of like all the other top 8s since the Ryle ban.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Like, so overall, that's basically our last big topic, by the way, that we're talking about.
Yeah. I plowed through just like, we got to go. This has been long.
I mean, it's just casual, like an hour, 40 minutes or whatever. But I think people really liked our long conversation at the beginning of the year. So hopefully folks will enjoy this long conversation at the end of the year talking about everything. Overall, so like, what's your overall take then? Like, how good do you think, or how bad do you think Grand Archive was in 2025? I feel like I've said a couple negative things, but don't get me wrong, those are pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. I think Grand Archive it's growing, and it's obviously growing, and seeing the growth in non-US regions has been extremely awesome to see. Seeing a lot of Japanese players and Southeast Asian players, especially in like Singapore area, on my timeline, people that I know, like I know from other trading card games, pick up Grand Archive, and seeing them post about it has been kind of wild, as someone who has been covering and championing this game ever since it was, first shared on Kickstarter. And it's kind of crazy, especially some people that I previously met through, like I mentioned, through other card games, who don't even speak English. I've met some folks who I met in Japan through other card games. Now they're playing Grand Archive. So if I ever meet them again, I can like engage in this different avenue, which I think is just super cool. And I think overall for the year for Grand Archive, personally, has been great. I think for the game itself, I think has been awesome too. You see the growth, and you can see kind of like where the game is going, and they've set themselves up for a really, really good 2026. I think. I did a whole video about that a couple days ago about all the announcements and stuff. But Dan, what do you think about Grand Archive in 2025?
Yeah, I know that we were pointing out a lot of areas where there is obvious room for iteration and improvement. But I look at the performance of Grand Archive for its size, for its growing player base, comparing it to other games that have infinite resources, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think like, no game does everything perfectly. Like that's just how it is. And I think that's one thing where like people think we glaze too much sometimes, just because I think, Kelly, you and I know that there are going to be things that happen and they're not perfect, and sets aren't always the best set in the world or whatever. Like, but at the end of the day, this whole package, what we got for 2025 in Grand Archive, it's hard to say that it wasn't the best year yet for the game. I don't know how you could argue to me that last year which was great, was better than what we got this year. And I don't even think, even though I know I do have a bias just towards the World Championship and everything going the way it did. But I don't even think without that bias, I would say anything different. It's a game where it's got infinite potential ahead of it. And what it did this year in starting to achieve that can't be understated. I mean, it's grown in different regions. It's produced incredibly cool designs. It has just continued to produce some really good products that are really great for players, really great for the game, giving people things that they want. It's got collectors invested in the game, going to these Path of Silvers, Joy for the collections. It's the cosplay contests are really starting to pop off here too.
Yeah, we didn't even mention those stuff. I mean, absolutely.
Like the way that this game is engaging players is like none other for games of its size, and I think you see that in the way players are so passionate about their criticism of the things where there is space for improvement. If this game wasn't so amazing in so many other ways, these players wouldn't be as mad as they are about the things that could be a little bit better, you know?
I mean, even then, I think that's kind of a vocal minority, right? There's a lot of people who play Grand Archive in my community, and I rarely see a lot of people like criticizing unreasonably. There are critiques, and I think those they're reasonable. But generally, I think people are extremely passionate, and I think it's just one of the best things about Grand Archive. I don't want to glaze too much, but like one of the best things about the game, and I think maybe it is the best thing, but it's that everyone involved with it, from the creators of the game to the players, are extremely passionate about it. And I think that is why Grand Archive is succeeding, because it feels genuine in ways that maybe some other things don't feel genuine out there, like maybe in ways that some other games don't feel genuine. And if there is a problem, I think Weebs of the Shore has done an amazing job of thinking about thinking about what's going wrong, and like doing things to act on the feedback. And I think that's also really great, and commendable. They're very quick at banning stuff if they need to, right? Like they're really quick at admitting fault and being like, okay, we messed up. We probably shouldn't have done this. We're gonna try to fix it. Whereas like some games, and not just Magic, I've been alluding to Magic, but other games too, maybe we'll just leave a card not banned for perhaps way too long. And I know everyone's been there. You played a card game where the meta sucked for like a long time. You know, shout out to all the players who played Force of Will back in the day. If you're still watching the channel here, I know there's some people from the Force of Will days who, you know, remember some Baja Blast and some Refrain kind of stuff. So yeah, I think Grand Archive is doing amazing. I say this, and it might sound a little hyperbolic, but I think it might be even more so than what I say. I say this often. And I think Grand Archive is the best indie trading card game out there, and I don't think it's close. But I think that actually undersells just how good Grand Archive is by just saying that it's the best indie trading card game, because I think that it has the chops to be among the best just in the industry. And it's pretty young, right? Mm-hmm. We got a lot of ways to go. But yeah, that's kind of my general thoughts of it. And if I didn't enjoy it and I didn't like what they're doing, then I wouldn't waste my time talking about it to, you know, people. So
yeah, and I think at the end of the day, there are, you know, again, there's a bunch of valid criticisms and things to improve. But
absolutely.
When we look forward to 2026, I think we can see a lot of those already beginning to be addressed, which I think we'll have to save that discussion for the next video, which is going to be over on my channel. So come join us over there for more.
Yes. If you're watching on here, you should probably get a notification if you're subscribed as well. We're trying the thing, so you should probably get a notification either way. Yeah, like I just super glazed GA, but as Dan said, there are issues, right? We know the game is expensive, and I don't think that's a question. Like, I don't think anyone disagrees. Maybe someone does, but I don't disagree. I don't think Dan disagrees. We know it's expensive, right? And it's something that I've talked about, maybe not in a lot of YouTube videos, but in public places like my Discord and stuff, where like the biggest problem with Grand Archive is that the biggest challenge is that it's expensive. I literally think that's like the biggest hurdle they need to overcome is price. And then after they do that, they need to overcome perception of price, right? Even if the game becomes more affordable, they still need to overcome the perception that it's expensive, because I've seen games go down in price and people still think it's like, oh, the game's too expensive, where it's not anymore. So they need to overcome the price, and then they need to overcome the perception. I think that's the biggest hurdle Grand Archive has going into 2026. So we'll see.
I would say it's that plus how difficult the game is, or in other words, having access to play the game at a lower skill level and have
I do agree with
the same kind of good experience out of it. But yeah, let's head over there and let's talk about it a little more, Cal. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. So for this video, we're going to end here. Thank you all so much, very, very much for watching. Once again, don't forget to check out the next video talking about all the stuff going on in Grand Archive in 2026. There's a lot to talk about there too. A lot of really, really exciting things. And it's going to be on Dan's channel. So go ahead, check it out.
See you there. Let's see it.